Yeah, and
They own it.
What's up, Trash Talkers? Here at Veteran Trash Talk, we actually vet our sponsors. We don't just take their money and run like a butter bar lieutenant lost on the land nav course. Are you finally ready to plant your flag and claim your territory? Maybe it's time to use that VA loan to buy a home. Or hell, maybe you're looking to refinance and put some extra cash in your pocket for more questionable life decisions. Either way, the Veterans Mortgage Source, powered by Canopy Mortgage, has your six. Look, buying a home or refinancing can feel like getting overrun on a bad op. Chaotic, confusing, and full of obstacles that make no damn sense. That's where Corey and his team come in. They're like the QRF of home loans, ready to pull you out of the chaos and guide you to the best program for you. And trust me, they'll answer all your questions. Yeah, even the dumb ones. Whether you're a salty vet or fresh out of barracks still trying to figure out where your TA-50 went. Great service, solid rates, and a team that actually understands the military life. That's why all of us here at Veteran Trash Talk trust them to do right by every veteran and their family. Ready to lock it in? Give Corey a call or shoot him a text at 808-699-7874. That's 808-699-7874. Don't wait. Unless you like overpaying and getting treated like an FNG. The Veterans Mortgage Source is powered by Canopy Mortgage, LLC. All loans are subject to credit and property approval.
What's up, Trash Talkers? Listen, it's impossible to fight, okay, if you don't know what you're fighting for. Does that make sense? Like, if you're in the dumps and you're struggling with mental health, things of that nature, it's going to continue tearing you down, all right? Because you're consistently trying to fight something, which is that demon, which is usually something from the past, right? Maybe that why needs to be fighting for your future. Let that be your why. Get the hell up and start fighting for your future. Stop fighting things that happened in the past. Easier said than done, right? Go seek help. It's okay not to be okay. A lot of people need to hear this. You are more of a warrior and a fighter if you stand up and say, hey, this has to stop. I need to go seek help. The stigma, everything has changed. It's okay not to be okay.
And so my honesty cap is dedicated to a little, we'll call it a public service announcement for civilians and other people in the military. There are a few people that you should always take their stories with a grain of salt. Vegans, CrossFitters, and special operations guys that tell you that they were special operations without being prompted. The first thing they say is, yeah, I used to be soft. Right. The only unicorn in that entire group is like a special operations guy that was like a vegan and did CrossFit. That guy's probably going to stay quiet for a little bit longer because he's confused as what he should talk about first. And that's the only reason. Right. Anybody that says that they were soft without being prompted or without it being like a normal part of your communications is probably either an enabler or going to tell you a bunch of stuff that's not exactly true.
What's up, Trash Talkers? What's up, Gruntworks Nation? Big Earl. You heard Dave talk. You heard Buddy talk. Now, Buddy's all about, he is a Green Beret and he's Special Forces and yada, yada, yada. But he will not tell you that unless, he really, really likes you and he's made dinner for you. However, what Veteran Trash Talk does is we bring a lot of light to the veteran community, the first responder community. We promote that what we're doing well, all right, whether we're running for office, we started a business, nonprofit, all those things. Veteran Trash Talk is a super clean page. We got Gruntworks if you want to go there and raise a little hell a little bit, but we are here to promote veteran-owned businesses. So the show you are about to watch is a veteran or veterans or a spouse of a veteran or a child of a veteran that's doing great things in the community, and we need your help promoting them and getting them all the success that they need. All right, guys, enjoy the show.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
What's up, Gruntworks Nation? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 10 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guests today are filmmaker and actor Stephen Grayhm and actor Matt Dallas, who will be discussing their upcoming movie, Sheepdog. And joining me today are VTT's OE254 and Buddy. Happy Saturday, everyone.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Hey.
We got Monica here for the Big Earl, because the Big Earl decided to not show up, as usual. He's probably playing golf with his rich golf friends on the golf course, huh?
Yeah.
Big shoes to fill. Big
Hey,
shoes to
you
fill.
know
I
what?
just got a text saying you better represent.
If
You
you're
got
a,
it.
if you're a member
Right.
of a country club, you have to go to the country club, or else they'll kick you out. That's
Yeah.
the rules, I think.
No, shout out to Nick. He's supporting his girls in sporting events like he does every weekend. So we miss you,
Yeah.
Nick, but yeah, we got this from here.
They both have double lettered in sports. It's so
They are.
awesome. They're kick-ass girls.
They're slaying it. Yeah, cross country, everything.
hmm
Very competitive. All right, well, let's kick this dumpster fire off. I didn't really come up with a conspiracy, but Chris sent me some things that just occurred 2 weeks ago. Did you guys hear about the heist in France, the Louvre or whatever it's called, the where they robbed that diamond place?
If you will.
Louvre.
The Louvre. How would you say it in French? Yeah. Je Louvre. Je parle un peu français, so I speak a little bit of French, okay?
You know, because it's,
Yeah.
it's feminine,
Yeah.
so it's le,
Yeah.
not je, and it's not yours. It's
Yeah.
the. Yeah. Anyway,
The.
go ahead.
Chris, play the video.
Hats out, folks, because there is a much bigger story at play with the millions of dollars of diamonds that were stolen this weekend in the Louvre heist. Now, in case you've been living under a 140-carat diamond and didn't know, there was a heist this weekend, a caper at the world's most famous museum in Paris, France, the Louvre. The heist occurred in broad daylight, 9:30 in the morning. They snuck through one of these side windows here in the Apollo Gallery. They used what appears to be some sort of construction truck that has the mechanical buckets that workmen sit in, and they raise it up. That's how they got to the second level and then broke through the windows. They used an angle grinder tool to cut through the glass. This is like straight out of a cartoon. They cut a circle and they push through the window. Now that set off the alarm and chaos ensued. However, the entire heist took just 7 minutes, and the thieves were in the wind before security could do anything with these 8 items from the Napoleonic diamond collection, including sapphires and rubies and emeralds and diamonds in crowns and necklaces and earrings. The thieves escaped on motorcycles and attempted to burn the truck that they used to break into the window to get rid of all the evidence, their tools, their disguises. However, one of the security guards was able to stop that from happening. Now that we got all the details out of the way, why am I wearing the tinfoil hat? Because this right here is the Regent diamond. It was a 140-carat diamond that they left behind. They stole 9 items, got away with 8 of them, and for some reason, now that we got all the details out of the way, let's talk about why I'm wearing the tinfoil hat. We begin first with the items they did not steal successfully. First off, we have the Empress crown. It was worn by one of Napoleon's queens. They dropped this on the way out. It was found damaged and recovered on the streets of Paris. And more importantly, this right here is the Regent diamond. It's 140 carats. It's worth $60 million alone, and it was in the room for them to take, and they just left it behind. Tell me how a group of burglars so brazen and so professional that they would break into the biggest, most popular museum in the world. 9 million people a year visit the Louvre, and they somehow miss out on the biggest diamond, and then they're dropping crowns on the way out. Not to mention that the items they did steal are so famous and now known worldwide that it's impossible to sell. They're saying they're going to have to melt down the gold and recut the stones in order to make any money off of this. Nah, there's something bigger at play. You don't risk a caper like this for items that you then can't make money off of. But what is it? What's really going on? I don't know. There's a million options. Could be something as simple as insurance fraud. Get paid out on these, and then all of a sudden in a year, we happen to recover them. Maybe it's a distraction. Oh my God, the Louvre, Da Vinci Code. We're stealing Napoleon's diamonds. We're dropping them. How'd they do it? Everyone talk about this over here. Well, over here, we're doing the real shit. And don't sleep on the fact that these aren't just any old diamonds. They're from Napoleon. Are they distracting you from? I can't say with certainty. For all I know, it's Emmanuel Macron trying to get Candace Owens to stop talking about his wife. Don't sleep on the fact that this is Napoleon's jewelry, meaning he touched it and wore it. Ever seen Jurassic Park, what they can do with DNA? Don't get me started on cursed diamonds. If there's cursed diamonds, maybe there's blessed diamonds. Maybe we're talking about something from the occult. This is not just about money.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. That was actually from Chris, so I didn't even do any research on this video. And I always get to go first. I'm going to keep it real simple. I think it's insurance fraud, 10 out of 10. Like, I think it's an inside job, basically. Because, like, even those items that they stole, they can't, like, resell them on the open market, right? Maybe the black market, potentially. But, like, everybody knows about the items. So I would suggest it was an inside job. These items will be recovered maybe later on, or maybe not. And then for, like, an insurance payout or whatever. That's my take, 10 out of 10. What do you guys think?
But how does that explain the ones that were left behind? Because they could still, right?
Yeah, that's
Like,
right.
how does that explain the ones they left behind?
It doesn't.
don't know.
Maybe you got something better, brother.
I
What you
don't have
got?
something
What are you
better.
thinking? What are you
I
thinking?
don't have something better.
Well, let's go over a couple of facts. Is it correct that it was broad daylight? Was that a fact that they did
What's
it?
that?
What'd you say?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
They did it in broad daylight. Yes.
But
Oh,
then we
yeah.
think-
Yeah. Why was everybody running and screaming? Oh, I guess because the windows exploded.
Ooh,
Yep.
I got that. Hold on.
All right.
all freaked out,
Uh-oh.
panic. I think my feeling is this. I don't know that I'm insurance fraud. I think that this is an Ocean's 14. I don't think it was like a perfect heist, but I do think there's definitely collectors on the black market that would love to put some of these items in their home. Friends, hey, keep it a secret. Let's go down to the wine cellar. Let me show you something really cool.
Mm.
And it was just messy, you know, when your adrenaline's going and so on. Maybe they didn't, like, that was on their list to grab, and maybe they didn't. And maybe they're going to have to answer to somebody right now for not getting.
I like that. Okay. All right. Good take. Good take. Matt, what you got?
Matthew?
You got anything?
I think I'm with Steven on this one. I think there are too many people on the black market that would be interested just to add to their collection, because there's people with so much money that they just want they just want to say that they own it. I think
Yeah.
that they're excited to like stick
Add
it
to
in
the-
their basements, in their collections.
I think
Yeah.
you two probably know more people that shop on would be able to shop on that version of the black. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I get fake Adidas sometimes because that's my budget for the black market. Like, what do you have? Do you have a Rolex for $50? Yes, I will get that.
Yeah.
But my feeling would be, though, that even if they know they can't sell it on the open market, right? But if there's enough in there for them, if like, hey, if you're able to go get that, we'll give you $1 million. The person who's probably the collector is willing, you know, that's what's $1 million talking about this kind of sort of priceless jewelry. Monica, I'm so curious. Thoughts?
Well, a couple of things are running through my head because I've been binging this show called Trafficked. It's a documentary series. A lot of the episodes are really disturbing, but a common theme through all of them is narcos and how powerful and how widely spread these horrible organizations are. I mean, they're everywhere now. They're in all countries. They're doing all kinds of stuff. So it made me think of that. But I don't know what the hell they would do with it, But Matt was at my commander's ball a couple weekends ago, and did you see the beautiful jewels I was wearing?
It did indeed.
Anyway,
Was
I
it
don't know.
you, Monica?
It was
It
job,
was
Monica.
you. It
Good job.
was
it was the American Legion henchman, definitely.
Yeah.
Take.
I noticed a few things. Monica, you kind of touched on it. You can tell that it's an actual something that happened in France because when the alarms went off, everybody ran. Just
Yeah.
in America, people put their cell phones out and walk towards it. Doesn't even matter.
Yes.
Gunfire,
Fair enough.
fire,
Wow.
burglaries. People are like, "What's going on? I got to get my phone out and see what's
Yeah.
happening." In France, we just surrender and run away. That's
Wow.
I can say that because my wife she lives in France. So boom, got it. Burnt. Anyway, the DNA thing, I think the guy doesn't know how DNA works, honestly. I don't, unless Napoleon somehow squeezed his DNA into a diamond, you're not getting anything off that. So that's out. Insurance fraud, where they like find it in a year. Here's the thing about insurance companies: if they pay out and then you find the object, that's their
Pay 'em
object.
back.
You give them the money back. So it doesn't really work out well.
Really?
Or now they own the object. Now maybe there's an insurance company that was like, steal it, we'll pay it out, then we'll find it. Because at the end of the day, the jewels, the earrings, the necklaces, the crowns, they're not worth $109 million unless they're in those necklaces, crowns, and because the reason they're worth so much is because Napoleon touched them and his wife touched them. That's the only reason anything.
The provenance of the object. Yes.
Yeah. If you take the rubies out, you're looking at maybe you're looking at a lot of money. Like you're still going to retire, I guess, off your heist. So I would say either black market or like the insurance company, maybe. But the reason they left the diamond behind is because it was black market, but it was somebody that had a budget, and he was like, I can afford these 9 items. Leave the diamond.
It's not that one.
I can't pay for that. If you can give me on credit, maybe. But right now, the way my bank account works, that is not going to be a thing that I can get. So leave that one. Bring the other one. I do think it's funny that people are talking about how like, I guess, clumsy it is because we've been so like engineered from like Ocean's 11 and like that. Like you got to like move the building somehow and, sneak in like disguised as a tile or something. And you just like lay there until you get up and steal everything. But the fact that it's the most like, that looks like they planned it while drinking.
I'm gonna say they pulled that off pretty legit.
Sure.
Yeah,
100%.
Definitely 3 shots. They were 3 shots in when they were like, we should rob the Louvre in a weird French accent. Clearly.
Electrical, arm with the bucket, to get up.
Yeah. They're like, they were walking through Paris and they saw it and they were like, what could we do with that? I bet we could rob the Louvre. Like, and they're like, I bet we can't. No, let's try it. Like, we need a weird electric, like, we didn't even, how lazy are you? You can't even climb a regular ladder. You got to have a bucket. It's 1 story, guys. Just like,
and you got to slowly go up too while everybody's.
I just saw a video not too long ago on TikTok of them escaping. And it's like, you've seen the movies where like the old lady is like coming down the stairs in her little like chair that comes down the stairs. They're literally escaping. It's the slowest escape ever. It's just
not so cinematic.
Then they jumped on electric scooters and drove off. That's why they dropped one of the crowns. But they're like, I just picture them with their like Lime app, and they're like trying to like find one. 3 blocks that way is 1. 2 blocks that way. I'll get that one. You get that one. It's got 3/4 of a battery. We're good.
I just thought of something on that air.
I told you I'd try to make it. I told you I'd get here. I'm not missing
you're
this
late,
one.
so you got to be quiet.
I was listening.
I was just gonna say.
I feel like if it was a movie, the intro theme song would have been like Mission Impossible, and when they're escaping, it's like the Benny Hill theme.
But if you think about it in broad, they were dressed. We don't know right now as maintenance workers. Nobody would have. And maybe that was part of the genius. You do it in right in front of everybody. That you're not coming in ninja.
I've held a theory for the longest time that as long as you have a uniform that looks similar to everyone else's and a clipboard, you could get away with anything. Yeah. And you just have a face. If you just look like you're supposed to be there, nobody will question you. You could probably 100%. Walk into like Fort Knox and grab like a few $1 million worth of gold, as long as you had a requisition that said, like, look, they want the gold over here. You going to give me a problem? Do I have to call Admiral so-and-so? Yeah, I didn't think so. Trump told me to come over here and get this gold. You want to call him? I'll call him. I got his number right here under Trump.
I got it in
Well,
triplicate.
It's real.
There's a viral video, I think, of these guys and crashed some of the biggest parties, like award shows and premieres, and they just held a ladder. I think that's what it was, and they wore the vest and they got in anywhere. Nobody bothered, just by right through the front.
Well, you guys are actors. Props will get you everywhere. Like, you just need props. Yeah, you can trick anybody with enough props. You got it. You're good.
Yeah.
It's true. Props and just owning it.
Yeah. Legitimately just, and when anybody asks you, like, do you know who I am? I'm supposed to be here. Go talk to your boss. That'll buy you 5 minutes right there. They only needed 7, apparently.
It's quick. Yeah.
Well, good take. So I think we're pretty much mainly leaning towards criminal organization. Absolutely phenomenally executed.
Are you going to let
maybe
the
not
big girl
insurance
give
fraud,
his
and then they're gonna? Well, are you going to chime in, Nick? Are you going to chime in?
I mean, I was listening, and I was hoping somebody would come through with what the big girl always does with the most educated guests and the smartest one in the room. But like again, movies explain everything. We already know this. They released this stuff years before it happened so that nobody gives a shit. Right? Everybody's worried about how are they going to resell these things. They're already bought. They're already paid for. This job was already paid for, and they just get dropped off. Huh?
I said, you're not coming with anything new. I said that earlier. I thought you were listening.
That might have been when I was transferring there.
It's already purchased. The guy just had a budget. That's why I did 107 carats.
I think I left when you said nobody understood DNA. I think that's when I had to click off and get on my computer.
Maybe.
But no, hey, pleasure to have you guys on. And Monica, thanks for stepping in for me. This is legit. I do think that it could be the Legionnaires, though. It could be your Legion people. Do agree with that.
It could be the actual Legionnaires, the French ones.
Oh, the French ones, huh?
Anybody think about the Knights Templars? Maybe there's still a few
some Illuminati stuff. Yeah.
Or they said that Trump took it so that he could be king for a day. He just wanted it.
Yeah.
So that's
wrong one. Wrong king to be. Napoleon didn't end well.
No, I saw the movie.
I did too.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, Monica, the floor is yours.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud and happy to introduce you guys to Stephen Grayhm and Matt Dallas. Met these guys about a year ago, I think, when their film Sheepdog was in I think it was the Beverly Hills Film Festival. And a bunch of us, we took up an entire row from my American Legion post wearing beautiful jewels that night. And I have to say that the film, to me was the most accurate depiction of different types of PTSD and how veterans deal with it in healthy and unhealthy manners. And I was really gripped. I mean, I laughed, I cried, the whole shebang, but you guys did an amazing job on that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting us all. But let me get to the business here. Stephen Grayhm, writer, actor, producer, all sorts of things, was in Medal of Honor, Criminal Minds, Between, House of Dust, Periphery, Crash Site, Summer 11, Boy Who Cried Werewolf, CSI, Smallville. It goes on and on and on. And is a wonderful family man living. Actually, I don't know where you live. Where do you live? You're here in
I'm
LA?
currently in Western Massachusetts right now, where we actually shot the film.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Thanks. I was wondering where it was shot. And Mr. Dallas has been a heartthrob of many girl from the Kyle XY series and boys. Painted Woman, Alaska's a Drag, Where Are You, Bobby Browning, Baby Daddy, Dig, One Percenters, and I mean, the list goes on. But I know that you guys did like 14 years of homework before doing Sheepdog, and went around interviewing, I don't know how many, like, did you interview 1,000 vets or something?
At least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, it was basically 12 years to camera. And so we started out in 2011. We did
Wow.
our first nationwide road trip to 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 experience it for ourselves, never knowing it was going to take 12 years to get to the screen. I think by year 5 or 6 we were worried. We were like, okay,
Yeah.
but we had always committed to. We always said to ourselves, like, we complete the mission or die trying. And and oftentimes, Monica, we get asked, like, like, did you ever want to quit, or were you ever going to give up, and so on. And of course, you can feel defeat. And then you'd wake up the next day and you'd get a call from a veteran that you had met on the other side of the country, or a Gold Star family member, or a mental health worker. And I swear to God, to you, just put wind right back in your sails. And we often say that those men and women that we sat in front of became our North Star to guide us home. And that's how we ended up here. And I say this, and not to start out, I know we all joking and so on in the beginning, but like, love led us to this place. It was our love and profound respect and the trust that we were given this immense responsibility. Were things that were shared to us, the most intimate details of somebody's life, whether it was in combat, trauma from childhood, whatever it was, and we were trusted with those stories. And the hardest part for us, our biggest challenge, always was getting it right. So for you to just share those kind words, it means everything to us, because we made it for you, we made it for everybody here on this show, and people that will be watching this podcast. We're just so grateful.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Even just like
That's awesome, guys. What inspired it though? Obviously, you talked about the journey just now taking forever, but just wake up one day and say, "Hey, or did you meet a veteran at a restaurant? Like, what inspired it in itself to make this movie and go
Sure.
on this journey?"
Okay, well, Matt, I'll tell them about the genesis, and then if you want to talk to them about meeting George in Texas and
yeah,
everything. But so in the early 2011, my car broke down 3 hours north of LA. I was shooting a movie in Vancouver, Canada, and I drove through the night after being up there for a month. And the weird part about the story, because I've never had a chance to really get into some of the details, was that it was a newer car. There was no reason for this car to break down. It overheated for whatever reason. I pull over to the side of an orchard, call the local tow truck company, and the gentleman that picked me up, um, he was like, saddle up, partner. We got a 3 hour ride back home into LA. And during that drive, at first it was silent. We didn't say anything to each other. I just stared out the window, and I was exhausted from driving through the night. And he just began to, like, slowly and softly open up, and he started to get into the challenges he was having in his marriage, being a father of 3, the financial hardship he was having. And then he began to open up about all the medications he was on, which led him to open up about his deployments. And I remember throughout that conversation, he would say things like, "God, I can't believe I'm telling you this. I've never even told my wife this," or, "God, I haven't even spoke to a therapist about this." And I probably said maybe 3 words during that drive. I got back to LA. We dropped my car in my driveway. I gave him a hug. I was like, "Hey, brother, if you ever need anything, I'm here." And just the look in his eyes to me was like, I'm probably never going to see him again, right? Which to this date I have not. But I understood what it was, and this is what stuck with me. He shared all those things because I listened without prejudice, and he had he knew he would never see me again. And maybe just that catharsis for him, there was healing in that. A month later, I'm doing a movie. I meet Matt Dallas on set, and I share this profound experience with Matt. And I said, I can't stop thinking about this guy. And there's got to be more men and women like him. And this isn't okay, man. Like, we got to do something. Like, if there's more people that are suffering in silence, like good people, hardworking people that love their family, love their country, are so proud of their service, we should find the answer. And it was like that time I was journaling about it, and I said, maybe it's a screenplay. I don't know, but we got to tell their stories. We got to find the truth. And I said, I think we should go on a nationwide road trip this summer and just meet with anybody and everybody that served that'll speak to us. And Matt will tell you, meeting with our first veteran in McAllen, Texas, Matt, share the story, because it was life changing.
Yeah, and like so for me coming onto this, yeah, like I didn't really come from a veteran family. My grandfather was in the Navy, but he never really spoke about it. It wasn't something that we really, other than like the tattoos that were like remained on, like there was no like we didn't nobody in the family really spoke about it. And I feel like especially as we've gone through this over the past 14, 15 years, like realize that's a very common story, right? So so my initial like inspiration was just like hearing his story and wanting to be a part of a project that was meaningful and that was going to have something have a bigger purpose behind it just than a lot of the other movies or projects that we work on. But yeah, so we set out on the road and we didn't even have really a plan. We got Toyota to like donate or give us a Prius. So we just like packed a Prius full of stuff and said, all right, we're gonna go out for 3 months. And we did. We finally through a Gold Star mother, Bunny, who's been a long time, like well, now long time, like close friend and become family and through this project. She had sort of vouched for us and introduced us to George Rice in southern Texas. And so we drove out there and we pulled up like all excited and inspired and motivated to hear these stories and like see how we could make a difference. And we started with an interview, but it was finally when like the interview had ended and the cameras turned off that he started to really open up and share things with us that were some sort of similar to what Stephen had said with the tow truck driver, that things were that he hadn't shared before. And it got very personal very quick, and we realized that this was we came into this pretty naive and that this was going to be so much more than we even realized. And it was when we loaded up to move on to our next destination out of Texas, we had that moment like Steven said where we looked at each other and was like, well, we can either like pack up and go back to LA because this was this is a lot more than we had realized we had bitten off, or we can move forward. And we said we would move forward on the drive and we would complete the mission or die trying. And that's sort of what led us here this many years later.
I love that. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, everybody on the screen here, I don't know about you two, but everybody you're looking at has PTSD from one experience or another, or many of them. And I was really profoundly touched by how you guys handled the movie.
That means everything to us because we really tried to find the nuance in that, and that it's so multi-dimensional, and also to not be defined by that it's not a story of the typical broken veteran who feels sorry for themselves and so on. These are people like you, the people that are in search of purpose, love their families as I've said, but have committed everything, as their families have too, to service and sacrifice. And I think that's what really informed. It's not just the performances, but the writing on the page was like, because I had been given so much access, and just to even speak to Vondi Curtis Hall's character in the film, he plays a Vietnam veteran. Almost all of his dialogue came from my time doing honor flight. I did multiple honor flights out of Austin, Texas to DC. And I'm telling you, the stuff that was shared with me would blow your hair back. And that informed it. I didn't invent any of that. I would, you go to the respective memorials, whether, if it's at the wall or the World War II memorial. And then at night, if you're lucky, you get down into the hotel lobby and you have a whiskey, and that's where it all comes out. And there's this beautiful camaraderie, but then there's also these like sort of smaller conversations that are quieter and so on. And I was really fortunate, like that impacted everything that his character says, all the relationship between the characters and so on. And just to expand on that, Virginia Madsen's character, she plays a trauma therapist in the film. And I was just so fortunate that the John Dingell VA Medical Center in Detroit, Matt and I had gone in through there in 2011. We made real relationships there with people that worked there. They obviously were nervous about us. what are these guys from Hollywood doing here? This kind of thing. And we were really lucky to build their trust. And over the years, they allowed me to come in there and role play with their doctors, sit in on PTSD orientation classes. They just gave me full access. So I got to inform the script as I saw it, right? Like, I think I'm very fair to the VA because it's based on people's experiences, good or bad, right? And I thought it was really important to show people that that there are ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances, but there are also extraordinary people that are coming into work. They're not getting rich doing it, and they care so much about the work that they're doing, and they're changing lives. And I thought that was really important to show that in the film, that it can just take one person, you know, and it is, as one of the characters says in the film, the longest journey can be walking through that front door, you know. And so again, just the access that we were given, that's what you saw on the screen. You know, people sometimes ask Matt and I about, you know, what went into those performances. And Matt has a story about this where, like, a week out from filming, he was really nervous and he called me. Matt, if you want to share that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's like because we had sat in front of, you know, like he said, hundreds of people at this point and collected stories, and you know, there had been so many sort of like almost starts and like almost going to camera over the years, and then things would fall apart, and we'd have to dust ourselves off and get back up and put the pieces back together, and so obviously, like as we aged, the characters aged, and it just began to when we finally went to go shoot the movie this time. I had just had this moment of like, oh my, this is real. And like Steven said, like our biggest challenge was getting it right. And so you want to, and it's about like honoring everybody that we'd spoken to, all the stories that had been shared with us, all of it. And so I just had this a bit of a panic moment before we were, where I was like packing my bags and getting ready. And you know, also as a producer on this project, there's so many other things that your brain is like trying to put together when you're organizing a film, right, or like a movie. So your brain's pulled in a million different directions, and then I was finally sitting down to like, oh, I gotta act in this movie. Like I have a character I have to play. And so I started to have a bit of a panic moment where I was like, Steven, I need you to talk me through some of this, because in so many of these interviews, like some of these people some of these stories that were shared with us were from so many years ago, and I don't know if I need to get in the headspace, and like I don't know, do we have any videos or like archive footage I can watch? And he's like, Matt, like calm down, like you've got this. All of those stories live within you. They're all in your bones. They're all in your heart. They're all there. And it's like, you're right. He was like, you just have to show up and trust that the work has been done, and that they're all alive inside you. And that's what it was. Our first day of shooting was all of my characters, like big scenes, and it was just Steven and I for most of it. And it was all there. It was just saying the words and trusting that they were there, and that all the stories and everything would come out. And so I think that that's really much a testament to like the work that Steven had done, the time that we'd spent on it. And yeah.
Hey, Steven, I got a question. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead, buddy.
Stealing. I already had this written down.
Oh, you did? Mine's written down too.
Yeah. So you guys interviewed, you know, thousands of veterans during your trips, and like I said, like you said, it took 12 years to develop the film. So I guess my question is two parts. One, like every time you interview a vet or you talk to a vet, a little bit of that stays with you. So you're carrying a little bit of their load, and if you do that 1,000 or 2,000 times, you're carrying a pretty big load at the end of your tour or your engagement, or when you go into making movies. How did talking to them how do you deal with what they leave with you? Yes, is a big question.
That's deep, buddy.
I wasn't prepared for that question.
That's what Buddy does to you.
I just got to catch my breath here a second.
Well, I mean, and I guess more because it definitely affects you guys. I mean, as you can tell, you know,
Mm.
but we think about the veterans, and you have there's a, you know, the actress that plays a therapist, you know, all those VA therapists, and people have their own opinions about the VA, good, bad, indifferent. They have to live with all those as well, and their successes and their failures. So how do you deal with it, and how have you seen, like, how are the therapists doing that are having to deal with it as well?
So I've never talked about this, and I think it's I really appreciate such a thoughtful question. It was really hard in the beginning. Like there's really it other people's nightmares. Sorry, I just a little emotional because I haven't had to think about this in a while. Other people's nightmares became mine. And I wasn't equipped for that, right? I didn't have any training. I didn't have any formal training to take that on. And that's what Matt was saying about biting off more than we could chew. And so when I got back to Los Angeles, I found myself self-medicating in all various different ways. I became like even a chain smoker, which is just wild to think that I used to smoke. I couldn't be in restaurants with my back to the door, or any public space with my back to the door. I was always checking people's hands. Definitely hypersensitive to things. And then to add on, I never screened my phone calls. I never put my phone on silent because there were multiple occasions where I was somebody's last call. And so, I mean, I know this, I'm sharing this because, like, when we talk about, as you did in your opening, which is so important to say, it's okay not to be okay. It's literally a line in our film. People really need to hear that, because I had to come to terms with that I wasn't okay, and that was okay. And I honestly found that a lot of the healing that I was able to do over the years came from within the community, came from within the veteran community, people that had already been through it and been through treatment. Hey, brother, are you okay? I never used to say on the phone, except to maybe my parents or my girlfriend at the time or my wife now, I love you at the end of a phone call. I say that all the time, and I didn't realize in the beginning, when I'd have, like, you know, retired command sergeant major being like, all right, love you, brother. And it would kind of catch you. And what I learned was, because you don't know if that's the last time you're going to speak to that person.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you asking that. And I will just say, so I don't want anyone to worry that might be listening. There's going to be a road ahead, and I accept that. I like, in terms of like therapy and unpacking that. The hardest part is I was sworn to secrecy on the stories that were shared. So it's not like I can go into therapy and tell somebody else's story, right? I can't do that. So, you know, there's long distance running, there's trying to eat healthy, there's, you know, buddy checks and so on. And you know, it's going to be a long road ahead.
Yeah. Buddy, did you have a second part to that?
Well, the second part was, how did you, because the film took 12 years from start to you know, getting it out there. In that 12 years, you guys kind of had I guess, the opportunity to see the genesis of a lot of treatments, what's available, what isn't available, and what worked and didn't work, go from, you know, 2012 or 11 all the way until now. How did that change how you portrayed anything, or the film itself? Did you just pick like a timeline and go with, hey, we're just going to go with this because it's changing, you know, kind of fluid, or
yeah,
what?
it got overwhelming. Like, if you visit the Center for Brain Health in Dallas, like, there's so many things that are moving so quickly, and so many treatments. And then we can talk about ketamine, and, you know, and I thought for the film I would go with, because we had to be very responsible with what we were putting out there, right? So EMDR is very effective for a lot of veterans, and the folks that were providing that treatment. I thought that was important to show. I thought, like, just basic therapy sessions where you're talking through the trauma, where you're starting perhaps at childhood, you create a timeline, just very sort of basic things But I thought it was really important to show, though, when we talk about committing to the work, was staying, like, having structure in your life and having a schedule, and how important that was. And I wanted to show the audience the simple things that they can do. Things that we didn't address in the movie, but we can talk openly about this now. Like, we do have friends, in the veteran community that were on a lot of pharmaceutical medications, and we're really, really trying to wean off that for whatever their reasons were. They were either getting less effective, they were feeling like shit, whatever it is. And some of them had sort of tried medical marijuana, and for a lot of them that we know anyway, and I'm not advocating because I'm not a doctor, but it worked really well, really well. We also have veteran friends that have gone ketamine treatments, which is a little more complicated. Not something you ever do at home at this point, but like in treatment centers and so on. And that was really effective, But I just want to say, as a whole, the most effective thing was committing to the work.
Yeah.
That was the,
Yeah,
and that,
for
and,
sure.
and you cannot do it. You can't do it on your own, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. There are services and treatments there that are there for you. So I hope
I think it's also important for veterans to realize that we're not broken.
Mhm.
We're not like a toy that, got the leg snapped off of it, or, something that is broken. We're different. There are
Yeah, for
things
sure.
that we've changed, but they're not excuses for bad behavior. And just because you have a quirk or something that you aren't comfortable with doesn't mean that you're a bad person, or that there's something wrong with you. You just have, like, like, I still, to this day, I don't go to a restaurant and sit with my back to the crowd unless I have other people that I've been in the Army with. They can
That's
sit,
fact. Yeah.
and because I know that they'll
They got my back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that on the show several times. And when I was getting out of the military, I was told that I had, like, hypersensitivity and this, that, and the other. And what I couldn't wrap my mind around was, especially when you look at the news today, like, well, yeah, but it's only a problem if it distracts me from being with my family and my friends and all of that other stuff. And but it's not a problem when I notice something is out of place before it happens and I'm not in that situation.
Right.
So it's a perspective thing. I think a lot of a lot of people, and I wrote it down earlier while you're talking about, like, it's when you're talking to people or talking to the veterans, it's very hard to discuss issues that you're having, mostly because you're deathly afraid of being lumped into a category of, like, not able to do anything for society any longer.
Being decentralized. Yeah.
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 And just, you're the PTSD guy that people have to, like, tiptoe around because you'll go off and do something insane. And that,
Wait, let me jump on.
go ahead.
And it's also
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nick.
Let me jump on it. So this will lead back into Stephen and Matt. Two parts of that. We had a guest on the show years ago, Dr. Gadd, who wrote the book Wounding Warriors. All right, not Wounded Warriors, Wounding Warriors, and he talks about that cycle of disenfranchising a veteran by lumping him into something that you just, hey, you're broke, you got PTSD, you're it's not your fault, right? You don't have to own your demons, we'll put you on a bunch of pills, that kind of thing. Now, my question is, you brought up something when you were explaining why you were doing it, about how this isn't like the status, we didn't want to do like the status quo of a veteran, right? We didn't want to make a movie like that. This movie is coming out in December, correct?
Yeah, it goes nationwide in January. Yeah.
January. Are you at all, because I heard this when I went to the premiere of Warfare through a buddy of mine, they were worried that they didn't make it a typical Navy SEAL movie where Navy SEALs just came running out and killed everybody, right? And every time they shot their weapons, people fell over, like it was more on the side of, we're getting trashed here. Like, this isn't good. Is there any worry that, like, is there a stereotype that Hollywood wants to see that they want to see like the broken veteran? Does it make any sense to show empowering them to where they're not, in that group?
Yeah, so I can answer that. So our film is definitely a PTG movie. It's a post-traumatic growth movie. We do go there to show you, but we don't live in it too long, right?
Yep.
But it's not a TV movie, right? These are real people. I shot it in real locations in a paper mill town down the street from here, because that's what Matt and I saw when we went town to town, city to city, and it was our job as the storytellers was to hold the mirror up and just show the truth, not judge the characters, and just show them truthfully. I think that, and it's tough because we've studied all the movies of the genre, and wanted to compare it to what we heard and saw. Yes, there's a lot of generalization. Yes, you can always tell when somebody hasn't done their work and has not sat in front of real people or lived with it enough to really understand what it is. And I think just getting back to what Monica was saying earlier about its authenticity, like it's an emotional movie. And I anyone that sees it, Monica's already shared that, we had to take the audience there on the journey. But when a veteran, like a Marine Corps veteran stands up at the end of the movie, Harley Caps as he did, and he's in tears and he's like telling Matt and I at a Q&A in front of a full audience in Minneapolis, now I have a movie that I can show my family of why I am the way I am, but why they are the way they are. And also, he said, I wish I could show this movie to my ex-wife 10 years ago. And that kind of stuff. When you have a Vietnam veteran stand up and say in front of everybody, all I want to say, gentlemen, is you nailed it. After 50 years, I feel seen.
I would like to say,
and that's powerful because that's going to help out a lot of people.
Is there a fear that might there might be some rejection of that on the Hollywood side, to where, hey, this isn't what we like to put out there?
Listen,
like for instance, like with the warfare one, whatever you want to say about the movie, there's a part in there where the SEAL team commander is rocked, right? He gets hit, gets blown up. And, we've all been rocked, except Dave just got shot in the ear. He never really got rocked. But like you get rocked, you're not there. So I like how they did that in the movie, where he has to grab his XO and say, you're in charge. Right. Like, and it's because, but they're afraid that that's not what, America wants to see as a Navy SEAL. Like, like that. So is there any fear there on that? Like, or that,
no, because I feel like with Hollywood, like Hollywood didn't make the movie. Matt and I went outside of the system and financed it private equity out of Texas. I never got the script notes I got were from actual veterans, mental health workers, Gold Star families, not from a studio head staring out a window at Studio City in the Valley. Right. So ultimately is a piece of art. The audience gets to decide what it is. Right.
Okay.
For us, that worry about the Hollywood machine. Matt and I have sat in front of those rooms, or sat in those rooms. We were laughed out of them, And
makes sense, yeah.
And it just fueled the fire more, right? And yes, look, there's movies I'm not going to name that I went to on opening weekend in the last 10 years, just rooting for it to be like, come on, this has got to be good, and it didn't articulate, or it didn't reflect what we experienced, right? So I don't know what they're trying to do, in that system, but I just know what we were trying to do was just to be that film that
real
maybe
and
stood out
authentic.
from the others, right?
Guys, when I got out, first, it's not like becoming alumni. Like, I went to UCLA too, and I still get all these damn emails that I wish I wouldn't get. But you don't get out and become a part of an alumni association that sends you, these are all your benefits, and your friends live over here, and these are the kinds of jobs you might like to. You just are let go, and I didn't deal with what was wrong with me in a healthy way, like a lot of us do. I never got into drugs and alcohol, but man, I ate and ate and ate. So, like Matt, part of your character was like, yep, been there, done that. I ballooned up to close to 300 pounds. And I had a nutritionist at the VA who said, yeah, you know what you're supposed to do. You're just not doing it. So I'm going to refer you to psychology. And I was like, oh, shit. I really don't want to talk to anybody. And then when I was hooked up with a therapist years ago, and it was only when I started dealing with the demons up here that I started losing the weight and realizing why I had kept like just scarfing all the time.
You're killing it now, Monica.
Stop it.
Yeah, you are.
Thank you. But that scene, Steven, that you had with the day you meet your therapist, I almost laughed out loud, even though it's an intense, difficult scene. Inside, I was laughing because I had that same monologue in my head, like, who the hell are you and how do you know me and how the fuck are you going to help me? And on top of that, she looked like she was probably my son's age. And I'm like, oh no, get out of here, lady. And her name was Becky. I think I told you guys before. Her name was Becky, and she was from San Francisco. So in my head, I kept thinking, she's Becky from the Bay. And I just was so angry and resistant to get help until she flipped it on me and said, well, why, I said, how old are you? And she goes, well, why is that important to you? And I was kind of like, oh, well, and then I just started explaining myself, but I mean, it didn't happen that fast, but I really saw parts of me in both characters. And yeah, thank you.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. That we experienced that a lot, treatment adverse veterans, but I have to say, in fairness, in a lot of cases it was warranted. When you're waiting outside in the parking lot for 3 hours for your appointment and you got a job or you got your kids in the car and you're like, there's a lot of things that kind of went into that. And I thought it was, look, when people are telling you stories about, sweeping a village, jumping over 8-foot cinder block walls in the middle of the night and your comms aren't working and there's real fear, you're playing the ultimate extreme sport and civilians, for the most part, to like really understand what that really takes. That's the kind of stuff that, how would you, if you stood in front of like Becky from the Bay, that's valid, right? And I thought like, well, what do we do about that? And that's why it was really important for Virginia Madsen's character to be able to slowly reveal why she got into mental health, why, even though she's never been in combat, why her own story is valid to understand, to see Calvin's humanity in her own, and vice versa. So yeah, I think that was very common for us that we saw.
And how was it? So I've got to imagine. I've never, you guys have talked about how it's difficult to, I guess, portray a veteran if you don't really have a background. But I've never made a movie either. So how is it trying to produce a movie and trying
Dave
to
and I have
no
big deal.
No big deal, huh?
Yeah, I don't think you made one. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah. How is it trying to produce it?
Yeah, 20 seconds of fame.
Together, all of that.
Well, yeah, Matt. I would say this, like, if you say produce it, like, so making the movie and playing the characters, I will tell you 100%, there was never a scenario where either of us were in the corner going, what would my character do here? Right? When we like, this is a real true indie film. So the world is burning down around you, right? You're trying to put out 20 fires by 6 a.m., So what happens when you don't have money to throw at any problem? You have to always find the pivot. And in that, you have to trust your instinct. And I'm telling you that Monica, because having seen the film, the monologue that I give as my character about the sheep pen, that was one take.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, it was loosely based on real events, inspired by them, and I saw it all. I never had to go to my page and go, because I had lived it. I'd met with all the guys, many of the guys in the unit that experienced it, and so I have to say, like, probably that helped us. I've said this before, but if we lost all the footage and you gave me, pick a number, $20 million to try to go and remake it, I would never take your money. It was lightning in a bottle. We could never recreate what we did. Something happened on that set that is wild, especially having been in the editing room and you have to stare at every character over and over. You're cutting the scenes, trying to make sure the beats are right and everything, and it can get mechanical. But I never ever saw myself. I never saw Matt, which is kind of strange. I never saw Virginia Vondi, especially because their personalities off camera. Something happened. And I think that a big part of that, just as the director, was not over directing it. You cast the right people, you make sure that the words on the page are honest, and then you go to really talented people that know how to take it off the page and just tell the honesty of it.
Matt's been dying to say something. We keep cutting him off.
I know, Matt. Let's go.
Right there.
No, I know. I get an idea that it's like,
what's for dinner?
I mean, honestly, yeah, you're right. No, but even like leading up to like the producing aspect of trying to get the film made. I mean, you sort of talked about this before, but there were so many times, and when you talk about Hollywood, like we were trying to go the traditional Hollywood route, and we were trying to, take the meetings with the producers and the bigwigs in the industry. And there were so many times where we would be sitting in a room and they would look at us and say, "Yeah, but I don't see you guys on the poster." And you're like, "Okay." Or they say, "Yeah, but this movie, do people really want to watch a movie about veterans and this like kind of downer?" And like this, so I mean, like even leading up to the actual like going to camera aspect is like this whole journey has just been met with roadblock after roadblock. But it is, again, like Steven said, like you guys, the stories that had been shared with us was always our guiding light, our North Star. And so as long as we were like focused, whether it was trying to raise the money, whether it was trying to get a producer, whether it was trying to, just get the scenes in the can for the day. And then it was, even getting the movie put together, getting the movie distribution, it's always been a challenge. But it's like, as long as we had our guiding light, it kept us moving forward.
Would you, and I'm not asking you to give a command performance of your monologue at that point, but would you tell the group why it's called Sheepdog?
Sure. So obviously, as we know, the military term that David Grossman so eloquently shared on Combat, I wanted to take it a step further, the metaphor of, protecting the flock, confronting the wolf, to be the metaphor to be, because we don't show any deployments in the film, to be the wolf at your door. And to be that, like, first responders can be sheepdogs, but I wanted to show, like, in the sense of community,
absolutely,
that how important that is. Though I do love the metaphor that Mr. Grossman talks about. We just wanted to take it to that metaphor of what that's like. To protecting the flock can be your family, it can be, and that wolf at your door. It can be your demons, and I, rather than looking at it from a violent standpoint of the wolf being sort of the civilian predator or something like that, and I think that in this process we got the benefit and the good fortune to see many sheepdogs that didn't even know they were within their community, and that was pretty incredible and an honor. And so that's where we sort of wanted to take that. We do give Mr. Grossman a shout out at the beginning of the film. Obviously, I think that those books on killing and on combat should be standard reading. I'm sure they are in certain circles. But that was really important. And then to take the other theme about finding your tribe, Sebastian Younger, whose book Tribe, he has several books. He was the co-director of Restrepo, the documentarian. And there's a really great book called Tribe. It's a simple read. I probably bought it for like 20 people. And I thought how important it was because, when Matt and I were going and meeting with men and women, especially out in rural areas, you're so isolated from that sense of camaraderie and community.
Mm-hmm.
And the closest person, especially depending on what your generation is, if you're younger, you might not be walking into that American Legion or VFW, and maybe it's a Facebook group, and not having that interaction that can be so key. And I wanted to reflect that in the movie as well, of like why it's important to come together as a community and what we can do as a community and what civilians can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it on the show several times. It's also up to us, like veterans, because you do get kicked out of your, what Monica said earlier is 100% right. As soon as you fill out your paperwork and you're leaving, you're done. You are, they find the newer model and go with the person that's still going to be there. But that doesn't mean that it's not our job to reach out to our buddies that we served with and whatever, and like talk to them and share because we're having the same issues. And I don't know. We've talked about it before. We just feel like other people aren't really like, well, I think I'd like to call that guy and see how he's doing, but he probably doesn't want to talk to me. He doesn't even remember me or whatever. And that seems to be a fairly common problem. Anyway, with all of with keeping in touch and losing your tribe, like you lose it because you don't try to regain it, I guess is one of the big problems.
Yeah, I would add to that anybody listening to this, I would encourage you to take that step, because the person on the other end of that, I can almost guarantee you 9 times out of 10 wants to hear from you.
Yeah.
And you might change their week just to say, hey, brother, just checking in. How are you? Miss you, love you. That sort of thing. And I know that also from firsthand, that first step, it can be life-changing,
Yeah, and spiritual, we talk about this on the show, spiritual things like, what not getting into what your faith is or whatever, but the connectedness of the universe and we talk about it, that when a name crosses you, or if you have a dream about somebody, right? And Buddy says this too, is just call him the next day or shoot him an email. Where you been? What are you doing? And you never know what it turns into. And part of why we started Veteran Trash Talk, during COVID was a bunch of different, problems that we saw was going to happen, because we were all still active duty when we started this. Was think about the people getting out and talk to some of those veterans now that you've made the movie, like in 2020, 21, where all of their appointments for their therapy were telephone when they got out.
Virtual.
Right. They never got the face-to-face. So that was like one of the issues we saw. And then the other one was our op tempo wasn't going to slow down, but you're going to come home from maybe a 3-month deployment or a 30-day field op, which doesn't sound like a lot to some people, but now you're going to be like, hey, now stay in your house and don't go anywhere. Right. Yeah. And so I was telling my bosses, I was like, hey, we're going to see a spike in domestic violences and we're going to see a spike in suicides. And what for?
Drug abuse, alcohol abuse.
Drug abuse, everything. And I'm like, so we took it on ourselves. Hey, let's start a Zoom and just bullshit with each other. And see how many people join up and start talking on it. And then we met Monica.
And thank God you did. Thank God you did. And congratulations on all.
We didn't even know we had a podcast. So we were like,
we didn't know we had a podcast for like a year. We're like,
I do want to say, I watched the trailer. Of course, I'm not lucky like Monica. I can't just go to premieres and wear stolen jewelry. But
gotta live in Hollywood, baby.
I did watch. I watched the trailer that you guys have on YouTube, and I think that the Vietnam veterans have been so forgotten for so long, and the fact that you reach back and have a character that is a Vietnam veteran. My dad's a Vietnam veteran, and the difference between what they went through and what we went through are in a lot of ways, night and day. We came back from, deployments to a country that was thanking us for our service, and they came back in a completely different atmosphere. A country that blamed them for things that they had never even that weren't their fault at all. Nothing they could control. So hats off to you guys for seeing that, and then having a character that does represent people that, to be honest, should still be thanked and asked if they're all right and how they're doing. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely going to impact a lot of people, especially, we spoke about it earlier, the ones that don't want to talk about all those issues, but then really have somebody else put out that message for them. and then to be able to like say, oh shit, I see myself in there, and then to be able to share with their family, friends, you know, this is why I act a certain way. It's going to help a lot of people, and I'm super excited to see it. Where can people see it when it does come out? Is it going to be like on Netflix? Is it Amazon? Do you guys know already where?
Yeah,
Like,
we're
what
going
platforms it'll
theatrical
be on?
first. Yeah, we're taking a big
Nice.
swing here. We're going in
Oh,
selected
snap.
theaters in December, and then it'll go nationwide in January. And we'll be sure, like we have some really exciting announcements to make in the next couple of weeks that I can't say just yet, but I'm sure Amy will tell you on the side if she hasn't already. But we have just such a, well, I should also say shout out to Amy Mitchell, who just
Amy's
put
awesome,
together, just
Yes.
this, you know, this incredible VSO and corporate sponsor coalition of we're just so honored, and you know, every day we wake up and we just want to meet the moment and live up to it. But it will be out in theaters theatrically, and then
Very
I
cool.
imagine, depending on how it does, you know, the VOD window is usually a month later, 2 months later. But we'll be
keep
sharing
pushing that
everywhere.
for sure. Yeah, we need to
Yeah,
we need
and
to
I'll
help
just-
that for sure.
Yeah, we'd love to come
And
back
is
on
Buddy
in
allowed to come?
January.
Can Buddy come if you do a premiere in California? Can Buddy come out of the woods? Is he allowed to like maybe invite
Usually
him?
just in a creek
You in the
somewhere.
woods?
Yeah.
Does Buddy ever?
He did a show for 2 weeks in a river, like floating in it.
What?
I know.
So just holding his phone up. So
Yeah, it's not. You're not wrong. He's not wrong.
Well, we'd love to
would
have
he be
all of
allowed?
you
I'll give him
as
clothes.
guests.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'll be in for
give
the
him a nice
Scottsdale
collared
one,
shirt or
Matt.
something.
I would love that. I'm gonna take you up
Yeah,
on that
dude.
offer when you guys do it
Absolutely.
in Scottsdale. Matt already said he'll come by and pick me up. That'd be amazing. Yeah, I would love to
Absolutely.
do
You
that.
come pick
Yeah,
him
for
up.
sure.
Yeah.
That's what. Hey, he offered. He said, "I'm gonna pick you
I
up,
did.
Dave, and I'm
I
gonna bring you
did,
for
Dave.
that." You know, obviously I can drive out there too, but you know, I'll take a ride.
No, yeah, we'll definitely let us know how we can help. I wanted to bring that
Yes.
sponsorship up, so I'm glad you talked about that because Amy reached out to me and another friend of ours who's been on the show multiple times. We call him VTT's heartthrob, JC Glick, the CEO of the Commit Foundation.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, Veteran Trash Talk, we make like 30 cents a t-shirt. We don't really do it for the money. I was like, but we can have you on the show if that'll help. And then, you know, we have a pretty good audience on Gruntworks, about 800,000 followers. So I'm like, you know, let's get it out there and support it. And that's why I kind of asked that question of like, what is the purpose of it? Are you afraid of Hollywood? Did you bend the knee to Hollywood? Like, are you doing those kind of things? And that's kind of like, because people will listen to it and watch it later.
Yeah.
And it's like, just to like, make sure we didn't do that. Or if
We
you
never
did,
had to.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were encouraged to bend the knee multiple times. We never did. And it's wild. Like this is a whole nother podcast. Maybe we'll save it for January when the film comes out. But, you know, the temptation was never there because we were never interested in cutting corners on it, but it was presented. And that's pretty wild. And thank God. And thank God we did the work, you know, and when we talk about that being your guiding light, there's no compromise. You know, it's just not going to happen. And thank God, because that's what's on the screen. So we appreciate you guys like having us on, and especially as civilians, we appreciate you so much. And it means everything to us to share your platform to help shine a spotlight on this, you know, important and timely message of the film. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Our
guys.
pleasure. Our honor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. You know, living where I live, I was born and raised here too. Met a lot of celebrities who I don't give two cents for, but you guys are so down to earth and so authentic. It's really refreshing.
How do you know they weren't acting?
Oh, well, fuck 'em.
This is all a performance.
I mean, I'm pretty good in this film, but I don't know. You know, I just
I got hair and makeup on the other side of the camera.
Yeah. Lighting is all perfect.
The
Yeah.
lighting, it's all
The
set.
mustache is trimmed perfectly. Like,
Yeah.
unreal. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, were you
But-
playing a Navy vet? Because that's a pretty good Navy mustache.
Oh.
So. Oh,
We
man.
appreciate.
Who's got the
that.
AR?
Yeah,
Unless
we
we're
do.
not done.
We do.
Hey,
okay.
Yeah.
Not me this time, and I've been writing. I got so many notes. Just wait.
Okay.
So first thing we covered was the robbery at the Louvre, Oceans 14, I think 15, 16. It's more like Puddle 13, maybe. You can rob anywhere as long as you look like you're supposed to be there, is what we learned. Probably somewhere on the black market. Some narco dude is running around with some really nice earrings at this point, I guess. And if you're looking for a country to rob, always rob France, because as soon as the arms start going. It's proven for over 100 years, guys. It's just how they are. I don't know. Not my fault. I didn't make it up. It's statistics, and they don't lie. Anywho, and then in December, go watch the movie Sheepdog. You can go to sheepdog.com or sheepdogthemovie.com and keep track of where it's going to be playing. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I would suggest that, like, if you need to go watch the movie anyway, but take your family with you, and maybe have a couple guys go have dinner and then go watch the movie, and then use it as a tool to start a conversation that helps you. I mean, you go to watch movies all the time that you don't get anything out of. At least this one, from talking to Matt and Steven, it sounds like it's going to be a realistic view of how you can deal with some of the things that you want to deal with, and you just don't want to come up and say that you need to. It'll be out in January, not in the theaters. So if you have to, then
we'll be in theaters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's gonna be in
nationwide
theaters,
in theaters.
Pay attention. One
Yeah,
job.
that's a
Nate.
big
December
deal. That's
theaters.
a big deal. That's
January,
one job.
about right.
Just listen and take notes and
Okay.
But
recap.
everything else, you stuck the landing.
Not December, January,
Nice.
buddy. January.
Selected theaters December, nationwide January.
Okay, check out the selected theaters in December.
And as we get closer, we just need to have you guys on again.
Everywhere in January.
You know?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
in
Guys,
theaters.
January. First of the year. Your New Year's resolution. Go watch the movie. All right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But again, thank you guys for being on.
Thank
we
you.
Really appreciate the work that you guys done, and
Sure.
the amount of work, the amount of load that you guys have had to carry to put this story out, and I guess the intestinal fortitude that it took to say no to people that were trying to tell you to do it a different way, and do it the way that you knew that it had to be done. I know from me and probably everybody else on the panel, we appreciate the work that you've done, and trying to get our story out, and letting people know that we're not all lumped into one category, that we can. I like the growth, the post-traumatic growth instead of the syndrome thing. I'll probably use that from now on. So thank you again for all the work, the struggle, and the over a decade of putting this together.
It was our honor. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys again, and I'm super pumped to see the movie, and we'll be pushing this out on all of our platforms as well as we get closer to the release. If you tuned in late, go to VeteranTrashTalk.com. That is our website, which has links to everything where you can rewatch, re-listen. Go to shop.VeteranTrashTalk.com. That is our awesome merch. Today I'm wearing Remember the Fallen. All right, and scan that QR code right there. Buy a shirt, support the cause.
It's still
Don't forget
October.
to save the Tatas month.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Still October. So
And remember, we don't collect a single dime on that, and that's for our boy
Yep.
Boats, Navy veteran. That's his organization, and God bless him. And your wife,
Rest in peace to his wife.
who passed
Yep.
away. All the money goes to that foundation and helps boats and everybody that's involved in that community. Save the Tatas, VTT style.
Yep. And we'll catch you guys next Saturday.
Happy Halloween. No lives matter.
Yep.
Yeah.